Africa TV Playground Studio Live 2020 GSL Season 2 code is The Coming Storm.
What is up, everybody? We're back here Saturday afternoon for Group D, the group of death here in the GSL Code S. So far, this has been an amazing group. We've had some interesting twists. We've got two Protosses that have moved on so far. We were talking about this right before the show went live. It is possible we only have one Zerg now in the round of 8.
Yeah,
which is
that's possible.
Keep in mind how many players who won or were doing incredibly well last year have been eliminated already in this round. We've got Rogue here today. I don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's hard to say. A lot of people are saying this is the group of death, and if you look at like what these players have done, maybe you can make that argument. I disagree personally. I don't feel like this is the group of death. I feel like you know, Stats and Zest, like how are they going to perform? It's hard to say. But here's our round of 8. This is where they're going to be going into. First place from this group will be playing Trap. Second place will be playing Dream.
Couple things to note here. Really exciting to see that Dream is doing as well as he has been doing. He is the wild card, I think, of this GSL right now. We just don't know what's going to happen. DRG, interestingly enough, is back and looking, I think, frankly, better than he even looked when he was in his, you know, top shape in the past.
And him versus Innovation is probably on paper the best match that we can really ask for in that round.
I agree.
김동 선수의 시드권이 좀 생겼고 이제 또 원하는 선수를 고를 수 있는데요. 이 그룹 D예요. 김동 선수가 좀 몇 명 정도 생각하고 있는지 그 부분이 좀 궁금하거든요.
일단 수호 형밖에 생각을 안 해요.
지금 고민 중인데 D조가 근데 가면 맨 마지막에 제일 센 사람이 또 들어올 것 같아가지고 어떻게 할지 모르겠네요. 근데 저는 그 위대하신 전태양 해설님께서 언제든지 구출해준다고 하셨기 때문에
가능하죠.
네, 한번 믿어봐야 되잖아요.
태양이가 아기가 있지 않은 이상 그렇게 힘든 선수랑 바꿀 것 같진 않거든요. 그냥 뽑아도 괜찮을 것 같기도 해요 지금.
알겠습니다. D조입니다. 죽음의 조예요.
아프리카 선수들이 이렇게 좀 분산 배치되는 게 안정성이 있긴 있어요.
도우기가 저그전 하고 싶다 그래서 아예 그냥 저그 밭을 만들까도 토스도 땡기긴 하네요.
네.
김동 선수가 프로토스도 마다하지 않았어요?
좋아하던데요?
아무래도 좀 같은 팀이 수호 형이 있어가지고 좀 껄끄럽네요.
껄끄러워요?
진작 뽑힐 줄 알았거든요.
네.
여기 있는 게 좀 신기하고 저 요즘 너무 못해가지고 D조도 나쁘진 않은 것 같아요.
자, 뽑아도 된다라는 이야기 남겼거든요. 과연 그쪽으로 갑니까? 누구로 가나요? 누구로? 와, 주성욱이에요.
저번에도 D조 걸려서 뭐 별 감흥은 없는데
예.
저는 그 무슨 조보다 약간 좀 낮에 하는 게 너무 싫어가지고 또 1시에 경기해야 될 거 그게 걱정이.
그렇죠. 왜냐면 밤에
강한 스타일이잖아요.
밤에 강한데. 그러면 자, 이병렬 선수가 가장 마지막에 남으면서 그룹 D로 지금 오게 됐거든요.
테란전이 너무 하고 싶었는데 토스전 만나서 좀 너무 아쉽고
네.
태양이가 첫 상대가 저그라서 저랑 같이 연습할 겸 좀 만약에 권한이 남으면은 저를 위해서 써주면은 어떨까 생각 좀 해보는.
모든 선택은 이 전태양 선수의 이 최종 선택 이 하나에 의해서 지금 결정이 됩니다.
박수호 선수한테 마지막으로 물어보고 싶은데 A조에 오고 싶으신가요?
처음에는 대엽이가 여기 4등 네 번째로 들어올 것 같아가지고 가고 싶었는데 지금 저도 딱히 뭐 그렇게 꺼려지는 저는 아닌 것 같아서 그냥 본인을 위한 선택을 했으면 좋겠어요.
이야, 어떤 선택을 할까요?
그다음에 누구에게?
최종 선택은요? 김대엽을 어느 쪽으로 보낼까요? 누구랑 바꿀까요?
구중혁?
누구랑 고민하고 있어요. 최종 선택은 누굽니까?
그냥 붙이면 안 쓰는 거죠?
예, 그냥 붙이면 안 쓰는 거예요? 그냥 야! 바꿨어요! 이렇게 되면은 주정 선수 김대엽 선수가 그룹 D로 가게 됐고 이렇게 좀 선택이 되면서 오늘 A 그룹부터 D 그룹까지 모두 완성이 됐습니다.
라운드 오브 16 큐어 스태치 제스트 로그
After today, we're going to be all the way through the round of 16. We'll be going into the round of 8. That'll be starting on Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. KST. Today, we move 2 on and we eliminate the others. Now, I think this is one of the most difficult groups to even figure out who gets out first here.
Yeah, I think the winner, well, I have a prediction. I think Kier's going to win the group. I do think he's going to win the group.
You are insane. You're crazy.
You think I'm crazy to think Kier's going to win the group?
In this group, yes.
Wow.
But I think it's not the craziest thing you've said, and that's how hard this group is to predict. Look, if Kier gets out, I would be really excited by that.
Okay.
But
okay.
And I think a lot of people are screaming at their monitor, Rogue! Tastosis!
No, Rogue is
He's good,
great. He's
but
always great. But
look, man, I mean, a lot of... We've already lost Maru. We've lost so many good players here this season. It seems like everything is, I mean, well, in this year, 2020, everything's upside down, but including GSL. We've had so many upsets, so many plot twists in this season.
This round has been crazy.
I just expect anything. DRG's looking better than ever. He's back.
Yeah.
He might win this tournament. We don't
Maru
know.
and Dark are not even in the round of 8.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Maybe Stats has a comeback finally. He's been in the background for a little while after being the most dominant Protoss for some time.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see, you know.
I was going to say, going into this first match, Kier versus Stats, I see this as a very poor matchup for Stats, actually, against Kier. I don't think this is the style, the type of Terran that Stats excels against.
You know, one thing about Stats is he's not really deviated from that style that he's presented in the past. He still seems to be really reactionary. You know, some players, they're known for cheesy and they end up switching into macro play, or you get someone like Maru known for pushing, ended up proxying for like a year and a half or something like that. I'm waiting to see the Stats either refine the style that he brought in the past, or does he bring something new? I think we're going to see here in this game versus Kier. The map's ever dream. We're ready. Let's go.
한번 시작해볼까? 드래곤 피닉스 게이밍 큐어 김도우 아프리카 프릭스 스태치 김대영
Yeah, okay. So, double gas here from Kier. Already a little bit interesting. But yeah, what I was saying, I don't think that this is a good match for Stats. Like his style of, you know, stopping kind of cheesy, aggressive stuff. I mean, Kier has a great mid game and a great late game, and he's not someone that really relies upon cheesing out his opponent or rushing early, or he's not someone who needs to get a drop off to necessarily to win, right? I think that, I mean, Stats generally better against the older fashion of Maru, who's a little bit more aggressive. Really good against someone like Beyond back in the day.
Oh, sure,
right?
yeah.
Because he was very aggressive and really relying on damage. Kier, I don't think really relies on getting damage early on. So I look at that and I think that I think Zest Kier is a better matchup than Stats Kier.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
I see what you're
That's
saying.
kind of how I'm looking at that, and yeah, so I really do think Kier's going to end up winning the group, and I think actually Rogue's going to get second. That's my gut on what's going to happen here tonight. But I would love Stats and Zest are basically two of my favorite players. I mean, I would love to see one of them advance. But
Well, Stats was really dominant. not far from the time when Rain was really dominant, where there was this era of Protoss where we saw the race go in the opposite direction.
The connector in between them was actually Zest.
That's
Zest
true.
took over after Rain, and then Stats took over after that.
But Zest was, I think we put him more on the side of a timing attack.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
push.
Very different style.
But both Stats and Rain. Rain, by the way, still playing StarCraft. Well, did win some ASLs recently, ASL recently.
Pretty sure he just plays PUBG now.
Yeah, or
Something
League
like
of
that.
Legends or something.
Yeah,
I don't know,
maybe.
or one of the really bad MMORPGs out here in Korea.
Yeah.
But yeah, him and Stats are kind of the unusual Protosses in that they were very, very macro oriented, not even that harass oriented. I mean, I know that was also an era where we saw Oracles fly into bases and kill, but everybody did that.
Yeah.
That wasn't like a special move that only they had. And Stats looked really good. He was really strong at this reactionary play. He would never hemorrhage units or anything like that. He always just managed to out-tech, have more bases, and come out ahead. And it seems like that is not always the best way to play. It seems like you can do that sometimes with Protoss, but you have to incorporate some kind of cheeser timing. I mean, this is really a feature of the race, is that you can tech in pretty dramatic directions pretty quickly, and that can punish races that are trying to play in a more middle-of-the-road approach. So, in this game, by the way, I thought we were going to have a little bit more downtime here, but already we have a drop coming in the front. It looks like there may be another Hellion dive-in over here towards the entrance. The stim's not done, so these Stalkers can just kite this. Now, the other Hellions have been elevated up here. The Stalkers are in the way of blocking. Well, hold on. Never mind. These shots are going to go down on the probes. Now, the shield battery can heal some of these workers. We have only 3 that have been killed off so far. And if this number stays this low, this attack has been a complete and total failure.
Yeah, that overcharge really doing a fantastic job right there. And definitely not getting the amount of damage he was looking for.
No, this is a real failed attack here.
It is.
8 Marines. I don't know if the medevac was killed off. We were watching the Hellions down there, but the Hellions killed off as well. I mean, the amount of minerals that were spent in that attack, and let's also point out the Stalkers weren't even killed.
No, they weren't. Yeah.
So it was just 3 probes killed. And this is a huge win for Stats.
It is. And if I could, remember what I was saying right before we started this, is that Stats is really good against things like early aggression, and that's not where Cure bases his game. And then immediately, what does he do? He's like, you know what I should do? A 1-base attack against the most defensive Protoss of all time. That's what I should do, Tasteless!
Yeah,
no, Cure, that was a... Why would you plan that against Stats of all humans on Earth?
It's funny, because we were just talking about how defensive he was, and will that style work? And then this game, we saw Cure attack into him.
Now you're
and
getting dead.
This counterattack should be fatal here. Now Blinken here takes out the tanks. And with all 3 of these tanks out here, the Stalkers are just better units. So we're going to see GG in a second, I think.
Yeah,
and we're going to be going into game 2.
All right, sets up a Liberator. But, I mean, there's going to be a potential recall here. This is a million billion units. Oh, he doesn't even need a recall because the units come home. And Cure just needs a GG here and go on to game 2.
Quite a humiliating performance here by Cure.
Well,
I mean,
why would this be the strategy that you choose?
I'm really surprised. I'm really, really surprised that Cure elected to do this. I saw the Hellions coming out, and I saw the medevac moving. I don't think I was really registering that this was going to be a committed attack in the main. It made sense once they all the units were elevated up there. But look, I mean, there's not... I almost want to be more critical of Cure than even praise Stats here, because the Stats play is straightforward. You keep the Stalkers there. You have shield batteries, which can, of course, heal not just the Stalkers, more importantly, the probes. This isn't enough damage to one-shot workers in any way that could be managed.
He didn't even try to hide what he was doing. The Adept was there. He dropped the Marines out. He attacked the Adept with the Hellions. He showed everything he had.
Everybody has games like this where someone just attacks into you and you go, what are you doing? And you judo flip them.
Yeah.
And I mean, you might have had all sorts of big plans for this game, but it doesn't matter because they...
Look, if there's no shield battery in the main base, Cure can win with that.
Yeah.
But there was.
Probably shouldn't base your strategy off something like that.
I would say no.
Game 2 is ready, guys. Cure vs. Stats continues on.
경기가 준비되었다. 한번 시작해볼까? 삼성 피닉스 게이밍 큐어 김도우. 아프리카 프릭스 스태츠 김대영.
Yeah, everybody has games like that, even at the pro level, where you start up, you're almost ticking off boxes defense-wise. Like, do I have my entrance blocked? Are my buildings in the right spot? Am I getting things out in time? And then an attack comes in, and you just chop it down.
He saw it coming.
Yeah.
The shade finish, like he canceled the shade, so you know an adept is outside your base. He knows you don't have a command center. You go out and attack the adept, and then Stats is like, okay, full wall in the front. Let's get some stalkers in the main.
There was a medevac dropping on the adept. You know, Marines dropping on the adept, so let's make sure the main's safe too.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Cure, I mean, lost 8 Marines and 3 Hellions. That was his entire army. Oh, was the medevac killed too?
Yeah.
Okay, so he lost everything to kill 3 probes. That's almost just one more revolution or worker revolution at each nexus, and you're back to normal.
Yeah.
1.5 of building a probe at each nexus, and you're back to where you started.
Nothing at all.
And
Chrono Boost, it's...
And then with Stalkers and Blink, which is what Stats was going to go for anyways, that's the easiest thing to win the game with.
Oh, yeah.
You have a Warp Prism to warp in Stalkers. You can see high ground. You can juggle the Stalkers if you ever actually needed to, which you don't because you're already ahead. This is where you blink on top of their army, not trying to blink away. Get more effective trades off here.
Well, this is, again, kind of an aggressive opening, right? A factory, no command center. You know, I wonder who Kier is practicing with. And he's going to go command center after factory, so it's not as committed as the previous game. It's very fast tech, though. But I do wonder a little bit who he's practicing with, because right now is an era where Terran is doing pretty well against Protoss. So more Protoss lean towards more aggressive plays, and against the aggressive plays, some of these styles that we're seeing out of Kier can do a bit better. But the thing is, Stats isn't one of those. That's always been our criticism of Stats, right?
Yeah.
Is like, dude, you need to mix in a bit more aggression. How many times have we talked about if Stats would just take a few of Haas's builds and mix them in, he'd be the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
You know, he would just to add that to his play, but he never does. He's always defensive, and then we're seeing Kier do this type of build against him. It's like, oh man, just play a regular macro game, seriously.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. I mean, I understand that Stats sees the game in a very specific way. And a lot of the players that do play like this historically refuse to try to cheese or refuse to do all-ins. There's almost this weird stubbornness. And it's like...
It's called honor.
It's
called pride in yourself and doing something right.
It's called stubbornness, Sartosis. And you got to mix in that cheese because, like, look, man, I mean, just... the player knowing that you're capable of taking these risks will cause them to be more conservative in their play.
Yeah.
You know, players that are really macro-oriented, sometimes players will be even greater than the macro-oriented player and then get ahead that way. I mean, it's like, it is really the same rule as when you have a player that always all-ins and they become really easy to stop because you just defend early on. You know, unless you're against like a real master of all-ins. But yeah, they just defend, and then you win the game.
Yeah.
And that's it. You know, that's why you also have to have these macro plays. But I don't know. Let's see how Stats continues to perform here. I can't believe my eyes. Is that so? Did he just not see that mine?
Yeah, it's cloaked. You got that quick armory. So, I mean, kind of an interesting build here out of Cure, trying to rely on the fact that everyone goes Twilight and gets kind of late Observer. But Stats, I mean, he's taking some damage from it for sure. Look at that. Another 4 kills there at the natural. Or 3 kills, rather. But, you know, he got some SCVs with his Oracle as well.
Well, Stat's going to come down here and ping that mine, take it out. So Cure's at least doing some damage here. Now, we've seen this strategy used in the last few years where you continue to hammer the Protoss with Widow Mine drops. And Sometimes the first 1 or 2 waves of Widowmine drops don't do much, and then the third one really is the one that kicks it off. But already we've had some decent damage.
Yeah, no, it's been good, you know, and it's been very annoying for him because it's making him utilize those oracles he wants to be doing other things with for some of that detection as well. He does have the Robo up. He is getting some observers, taking his third base as well. It is a tech-heavy build from Cure, so it's going to be a bit before he has a strong standing army.
Okay, Medevac on the run here. And not bad here. Again, Stats doing a pretty good job fleeing.
Ooh. Some very nice burrow and unburrow action there. Is going to chase down this Medevac, though, with the Phoenix instead of lifting.
Their army supplies
Oh,
are
man.
fairly similar. I'm getting a little bit worried here for Stats. He seems to be a little bit slower with trying to catch this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And look, he's actually going to lose that Stalker as well. Kind of funny to see, right? Because back when Widowmines just auto came cloaked underground, people were so good, even with the 50 mana Revelation, at removing them immediately and not letting them get additional shots off. But even here, you know, with the nerfs to the mine and the buffs to detection on the Oracle, we see that he's having a little bit of a harder time.
Nice scan here to take out the Observer. That's
I love
annoying.
that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, and he could actually get out here with everything. Now, where's that Phoenix? Because the
There it is.
area over here, it's pretty empty. You can't really unload on the ground. So this was going to be cleaned up, it looks like, anyways here.
Just trying to make him use up as much Oracle energy as is possible.
Yeah, it's smart.
But he clears it all out. All right, worker count right now, 54 to 51. So it's actually not bad for Cure. That's he did some really reasonable damage there. Didn't lose too many to the counter harassment of Stats, or the initial harassment of Stats, rather.
And that's pretty good considering that Protoss tend to get another expansion up pretty quickly here.
Yeah, normally in even game, Protoss has a bit more probes at this time than Terran does, a decent amount more. But he's done some damage with that. But again, don't forget, it was a little bit tech-heavy from Cure, so his army maybe not quite as big as we're used to seeing right now with other builds.
And from here, we might actually have a push out here from Cure. I don't think we're going to know for sure until the Protoss no longer has his vision of this. But on the Protoss side of things, you know, this is really the phase of the game where you've got the bases up that you wanted to get. You need to get the rest of your tech up. You need to get upgrades. You need to get a certain number of Colossi. We've seen the Disruptors have become pretty popular lately. Try to zone the Terran out. And I think we're eventually going to see Protoss take the fourth here.
Yeah, we might see him just go ahead for that. We don't see Forges going, though, right? So,
Oh,
I mean,
was there no Forge? I thought there was one.
He has one, but he should have started something. Okay, there we go. He starts his +2 attack now. Okay, and there is the second Forge. Those are kind of the things that I'm looking for to say the fourth base is definitely going to be taken, right? Because
Well,
if you're
it's
gonna,
not, then you have to attack. You have to try to end the game. But it
gotta
doesn't
make
seem
your
like
units better.
that way of playing is as strong nowadays.
All right, he's actually getting Prism speed right now, which is kind of cool. Second
I like
Robo
that.
as well.
Now, this is very Stats-esque to do this. Stats knows he wants to be staying back, playing a withdrawn game, and just throwing attack after attack in. You know, with these War Prisms trying to damage the Terran who might be overextending. A scan comes down here. Does take out the Widowmine, or the Observer. So the Widowmine can burrow.
And looks like Stats now going to drop off some Zealots here into the natural, just a couple. Takes some big damage on that Prism, so the Prism not going to make it through. Doesn't even get all of its Zealots out, unfortunately.
SCVs are going to swarm this Zealot, but a pretty good interruption here. Meanwhile, at the natural, the Zealot's doing some damage.
Yeah, he's actually getting a lot more done than I thought he would.
It's already more effective than the drop we saw from Cure in Game 1.
Well, anything would be. All right, Cure actually intercepts the probe that was going for that fourth. A very conservative timing on that fourth from Stats.
Like
you can see that. I mean, Stats is just Stats, man. This is the way that he plays the game.
It does seem like Protoss always want to take their fourth base up there at 12 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
you know.
for sure.
We might end up seeing Stats get pressured into expanding towards 3 o'clock, but we'll see.
Look at this. He's getting the Dark Templar and High Templar tech both at the same time while going Disruptor. Kind of an interesting thing. You don't normally see those two buildings started at the same moment. But Stats kind of filling out the rest of his game all at once.
This is definitely the game that Kier wanted to play here. He's doing a great job of controlling Stats. It looks like a little bit of a tempo edge here for Kier. Besides supplies, also the fourth base actually gets up before the Nexus finishes for Stats at his fourth.
Stats has built himself into kind of everything you wanna see, right? So we're gonna have to see Kier play like the. Probably this is gonna go to like the real Supreme late game where you basically have absolutely everything you want, and we get to see what you do with that. You know, it seems like a lot of times it becomes a bit of a dance. EMPs and Vikings and Liberators against High Templars, Disruptors, and Colossi. So we'll see if it gets into that. Kyria is moving with a massive force up here towards 12. Stats a little bit out of position. He's going to hit his opponent's fourth.
I think that Stats is going to have to either recall or go into a base trade here. EMPs.
Yeah, I don't think he can recall on that. That's just too much damage output all of a sudden.
Well, I was even thinking to the third base or something.
Oh,
but,
yeah. That
but
he
then
might have to do immediately. Or, I mean, this could go full base trade, though. If he kills the third real quick and recalls the natural, maybe that's the right play. Oh, he has the Disruptors to buy time, too.
Yeah, this is, I think, a great technique here to try to hold this spot up, but I don't know if there's enough to cover the Disruptors. They can actually end up getting zoned back despite you know, their ability to really control terrain pretty well. And Stats is not slowing down. Now, I think Stats actually is dealing damage a little bit more quickly than Cure is. Like, this wave of destruction is going to continue to move over here. Well, hold on. Stats is just sitting there.
Kind of funny, landed Vikings going after Disruptors right there.
Yeah, well, better them than the infantry.
Oh, look at this. He's using a lot of scans to try to get rid of stasis wards, which is allowing this Dark Templar tech to really come in handy here. Okay, a lot of EMPs go down.
All right, EMP is hitting a lot of those Archons and taking the shields off one of the Colossi. It looks as though Stats holds, but again, this is one of these moments where both sides are in shambles. It does seem like the army is, in fact, much bigger for Cure, but I think with this kind of army comp, it really depends on the angle that the Terran can attack in.
Yeah, he's got a lot of Disruptors and is continuing to make them. Quite a few Vikings actually being made still, which is interesting to me. We do have 3-2 that's going to be finishing up here for Stats. Wow, this has really turned into a very cool and weird game. Who do you like right here?
I think that Cure can take this. It'll depend on it. I think if Cure has one good fight where he takes out the Colossi or the Disruptors, I think that Stats can't recover.
No, I
think that
I agree.
You know, Protoss is really required to have a more complex unit comp that's harder to build up to. You know, with Terran, they basically have the starports. I guess the hardest balancing act is really Medevac versus Viking in some of these situations, but everything else is pretty easy.
Okay.
It's not hard to get the right number of Marines. It's not hard to get the right number of Marauders. It's not hard to have any starport units. You just have to make sure you didn't, you know, let's say overmake Vikings or something, but I think at this level of play, that's not difficult either.
Sure.
And so I think Cure, let me put it like this. I think he's able to mess up once or twice here, and he's still okay, but yeah, let's say that the Disruptors and the Colossi are all killed off. I think it's really hard.
Oh, yeah, it's certainly.
If not impossible for Stats to recover. So Stats is in a tightrope walk here to try to keep that balance.
Yeah, I think when those two economies collapse like that in a very similar way, Terran is a little bit favored. But at the same time, I like what Stats is doing right now, right? He's added in, he has a lot of splash damage. It's a very technical army. And he's getting into Dark Templar Blink as well, which I think in any low economy situation, DT Blink is one of the actual most powerful things that there is. You know, it's just, like, your opponent is really trying to utilize mules to get their economy back together. They might be down in command centers compared to what they're normally at. I think it can just be such a useful tool. I'd love to see him throw some Dark Templars in right now and start moving around the map a little bit.
Now, Terran is going to take a fourth. What a funny game, by the way.
Yeah.
If you had just now tuned in, you would have no idea that both these players are on two bases after building up to this point. And then, oh my God.
Yeah.
The Disruptors are such a funny unit because sometimes you get a connection and it's like you killed their entire army, you know? Okay. Kind of an odd moment here with these Vikings landing, but I guess you can actually snipe these Archons this way. How funny is this?
Those were some hero EMPs that went down right there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Without the EMPs, I think Protoss actually rolls through that, but good move from Cure, and he gains a lot of value right there. Oh my god.
Oh!
Those are some stasis wards.
And think about this, with Disruptor Balls, you can just set that up and destroy that.
Yeah, it is hard to time, I have to say. I've tried this before, where I try to hit the Disruptor on it after
He's got it,
comes out.
Artosis. How dare you?
Yeah,
This is
Stats
the great
probably
stats.
does. Let's see. Oh, beautiful.
That's what I'm talking about. That was sick. That was really good. By the way, despite the damage that Terran did back there, the Disruptor and Colossus count is still enough that I think he can hang on.
All right, actually, he takes out that pylon that was powering the battery.
I think I might have talked too soon. I think there might just be just enough infantry here.
No, I think Stats is still alive here.
I actually didn't see the DTs with blinks hitting that.
Okay, where are we at? 31 workers to 47. Stats has 1 additional mining base, so does Cure.
It does seem like Terran can't be pushed by Protoss in this spot. It's really hard to do. Remember we had Warp Prism with speed? I think there was one of the reasons why Stats was invested into that. I think he's a little bit tied up right now, trying to just defend that he hasn't been able to make Warp Prisms, but
he doesn't have any extra money for harassment. Like,
no.
He only has money for his technical units. That's the only thing that we see him making right now, and it makes sense. It's like the thing that's keeping him alive.
Now he's in a real cliffhanger here. He's just trying to outlast his opponent. It looks like some dinks are coming in here.
I love that you've actually lost your ability to speak correctly in your commentator. It's like, oh damn, Tasteless, there's no saving this, buddy.
My caster stroke. No, look, I think this is smart that he's going to try to send the DTs with Blink down across the map and hit these areas if Terran's not defending. And this situation, let's see if Terran goes further north, because we might have another mirrored event from what happened earlier on where they're both going to destroy the third here.
Cure is a bit out of position for that right now.
By the way, Cure's base at his third is actually almost out of minerals, so I don't know if Cure needs to get this fourth up here, which is over at 9 o'clock. Nice taking out the orbital. That's actually pretty big when things are getting this scrappy.
And don't forget as well, like the DTs just gain value every time you take out something like that. It's just it's less scans. It becomes harder and harder to deal with them. It's like a very cool and interesting way to grind someone down in the late game in these weird situations. Like, it costs the Protoss quite a bit, but you know, it makes your opponent really careful about using mules. You can see Cure's been making a decent amount of turrets. Oh, look, he's got the parting comp.
Well, if he blinks right on top of that, it's going to be a lot of damage. If Terran doesn't react immediately, he could lose that whole army.
He's got +3 weapons, so yeah, I mean, he could kill that army so quickly if you don't have any detection there. Even if you do, I mean, after 2 swipes, your army's almost done.
If Terran doesn't hold this attack off, Terran will be out of the game.
Yeah.
Terran has to survive this. I think there's room for a really good setup with the DTs with Blink. I think he's going to send them. Yeah, we see them on the mini-map now, moving out. If I were him, I wouldn't have these Zealots with that, because I think that draws your eye to the blip on the mini-map. I think it'd probably be better to move that alone, but I don't want to nitpick too much. But
yeah, I think a lot of people like to utilize those 2 units together, because the DTs can kind of blink
behind them. And then,
it makes like a wall, and the Zealots charge up, and it's like
they surround
almost
everything.
Instantaneously you surround their army.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. But I wonder, you know, you were talking about lack of scans available.
Yeah. But yeah, the Zealots definitely catch your eye more than a blur on the minimap.
Yeah.
Or a blur on
the screen.
Yeah. Well, there is no blur on the minimap for them, so that would not make sense.
Wouldn't that be funny if there was? That'd be the most noticeable thing ever.
It would be.
Yeah.
It's like more noticeable than units on the minimap.
You have to upgrade Uncloak for DTs just so you can move them around without them being spotted so easily.
Imagine if you could turn Cloak off. That would be the real way to clown on an
And then we see how dumb DTs look without Cloak on.
They do look dumb every time they get EMP'd. I'm like, oh man, that is
when you think about it,
unit.
How many Protoss units actually wear masks? Masks, right? DTs
have masks?
Yeah, they wear masks. They have
don't even have
coronavirus
mouths.
masks on. Doesn't matter.
Huh. Well, maybe that's like more of a scarf then. It just keeps their face warm.
An attack over here. This is a lot of damage. These SCVs, this is the majority of the SCVs, by the way, for Cure, and he's not pulled them away. Well, he has now. This gets him 21. He almost actually sniped the command center, by the way.
He could have if he had actually clicked on it.
Well,
but
I get it. I get why he backed off. I mean, he definitely got a win there by taking out that many SCVs. I think this is going to be a 1-2 punch here for Stats. He's going to come through here, probably hit this base, kill that off. And by the way, Stats is winning the way that Stats used to win.
Yeah.
With patience, with map control, and with proper tech.
This is the way that Stats likes to play the game, and he's done a great job. Well, that's kind of hilarious.
A lot of those Zealots didn't have charge.
Shows you that when there is detection, the DTs are not quite as strong.
Yeah, they're not good.
Especially when you've EMP'd them to get that detection. Well, that brings Kier's supply into an advantage, but Stats' actual main army is still very scary.
Yeah.
Not so sure about this little group. There's that EMP again.
Some more Zealots are being warped in here. He might have just enough to buffer in the front. Where is Stats' Robo army? Oh, I think it's up towards the top.
Yeah, he's trying to save the 12 o'clock, but that means he loses his other base.
I think he's going to sack 3 o'clock and come down here and punch this out. Look at this, Kier, great reaction there.
That's good.
He immediately evacuates that. He's not going to even try to risk. Now, this is still going to be a win. The Stalkers are going to get the orbital. I think, though...
Does Kier go home, or does he keep pushing for damage?
I think Kier cannot keep pushing for damage. There's more that Kier has to destroy, and he actually has less. I actually think Kier is basically dead, but let's see.
Okay.
There's infantry down here. He needs to bring the rest of his army back home. There are disruptors coming up here as well, so I think he's going to be able to nudge this army off of this spot. Yeah, they just have to retreat.
Okay.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he's backing up. I think he hasn't seen the other group of army that Kier has for a while, so if that came in behind, he would actually lose everything.
I think he's expecting to be flanked, but he's not going to get flanked.
I think you're right. I think that's what that was.
Yeah. This is all Terran has. The 6 o'clock spot is all that Terran has.
Protoss has a little bit more right now than that.
Yeah, and Protoss also has money to blow here. You know, the army's big enough. You don't have to keep, you know, just macroing out units. I mean, he's already got a better army. He could save money for a Nexus if it became a base trade. With a low number of workers at 17, even if this DT kills one SCV, it doesn't. But, I mean, every SCV right now is becoming very precious.
Yeah.
This is a moment where, let's say another attack comes in and 7 or 8 of those are killed off again. All right, now this is where I think all these little battles, all these little fights begin to add up. And, you know, this control by Kier is pretty incredible, but I think that this should be a manageable position here. GG. Ooh. Stats holds. Kier put up quite a fight, but in the end, it's a 2-0 win for Stats. He moves on to the winner's match. I think Kier looked really good, to be honest, but
I think it was, I think Stats looked very good there. He played his game, he played it well, but I have to ask about what Kier chose to do here. If he's playing against Zest, both games, he's teching up. Like, I just want to see him do Reaper Expand. Against Stats, you should play a 3 command center build. You shouldn't play a tech heavy build. You shouldn't play an early attack. Because these are the exact things that Stats is good against. Literally, like, if I write down on paper, here's what Stats is good against, here's how to lose to him, I would write down Kier's strategies.
Up next, Rogue versus Zest. Don't go away. We'll be right back.